Years ago, when our son was just a baby, we decided to have a family movie night. One problem, we had the tiniest little TV mounted on the wall, and on our awkwardly shaped living room, the couch was way too far away to really see anything all that well. So we improvised. We turned off the lights, popped some popcorn, laid down some throw blankets and couch pillows on the floor, and we snuggled our baby boy right in the middle of us as we started our movie. Well, we're about a quarter of the way into this movie when out of nowhere, our front door swings wide open and in walks a woman we have never seen before in our life. She walks in like she owns the place, literally. She hurries across the living room, through the dining room, and right on into the kitchen. We were so shell-shocked that we didn't even move. We didn't know what to say. We could not believe what was happening. Well, this woman proceeds to open up the fridge and start rummaging around. And then it happens. The penny drops. We watch her freeze, slowly close the refrigerator door, and slowly back away. Startled, confused, uncertain. She looks at us, we look at her, and she says, "You aren't my kids." And we're like, "No, ma'am, we are not." She goes, "This is not my house." And we said, No, it's not." If I remember right, some choice words came out of her mouth, and she raced back towards the front door as quick as she could, embarrassed, frazzled, and still very confused. Thank you, suburban tract homes. You see, she lived in the same model house as we did, but on the next corner down. And coming home from work late at night, she got confused, pulled into the wrong driveway, walked into the wrong house, rifled through the wrong fridge, and as soon as she came back in, she raced right back out. Why? It wasn't her home. It wasn't connected to our family. She wasn't. So there was no way that she could flourish and stay in our house. Psalm 92, 12 through 13 says that the righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Those that are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. You see, unlike the grass that is here today and gone tomorrow, palm trees and cedars of Lebanon are two plants that grow very, very slowly, but they live a long time. This is an image of perpetual growth and continued fruitfulness, that the older they get, the longer they have been planted. Even at the age of 3,000 years, cedars of Lebanon can still produce seed-bearing cones. They become more fruitful the longer that those roots are in the soil. This verse promises that both those who are righteous and planted in the house of the Lord, they'll flourish, they'll be fruitful. Of course, in the context of the Psalms, this is referring to the temple, the place where people met to worship and to place themselves in God's presence. But it is no less relevant to our faith family, the local church. Those that are planted in God's house, the church of Jesus, will flourish. Think about this plant behind me. It's potted. And because it's potted, its growth will forever be stunted. I could move it from one pot to another pot to another pot, and there would always be limitations to its flourishing. But if I were to plant it in the ground, its roots would be able to go deep and expand as far as needed and flourish to all that it was meant to be. This is the promise we are given as we plant ourselves in God's house, that you will flourish. That as we are transformed into Jesus' image, that your marriage begins to flourish, your friendships flourish, your gifting flourishes, your future flourishes, and most importantly, that spiritually you flourish. And isn't flourishing what we're all after? I fear that we often look for it in every place except where God promises it. We look for it in our purpose and in our life planning. We try and find it in our children and friendships, in our possessions and successes, in our experiences. Maybe you've even drifted from church to church to church, but you've never experienced the decision that through the highs and the lows that you will not be potted, but you will remain planted in the household of faith that God has called you to. Being potted may feel easier. There is always an out. Being planted is much harder, but that is where true flourishing and fruitfulness can be found. You know, there's a popular children's book from I think about 50 years ago that's called "We Were Tired of Living in a House." And it follows the journey of little children looking for a place to live, to be planted. And it goes something like this. We were tired of living in a house, so we packed a bag and we moved to a tree, and we liked our tree. There was always a breeze in the afternoon that rippled through our roof. There was a bird that sang a song. We liked our tree until we tumbled out. So we packed our bags and we moved to a pond, and we liked our pond. We built a raft and we floated among the reeds and lily pads. Below, fish darted, dragonflies above, and pond frogs sang with us on a summer night. We liked our pond until we sank. So we packed our bags and we moved to a cave, and we liked our cave. We slept on beds of cool green moss. We hunted for blackberries in the woods. We got water from the brook and roasted walnuts on the fire. And when we weren't busy, we explored. We liked our cave until we met the bears, so we packed our bags and we moved to the sea, and we liked the sea. We built a castle on the shore from the salty water and the warm sea sand. We hunted for treasure and we played in the waves. We liked our castle on the shore, but the tides kept washing us out to sea. So we packed our bags and we went home to live in a house. You see, they thought that being potted and repotted would bring them happiness. They looked for flourishing everywhere else but the same old boring house. But eventually, they came to live in a house because they realized that that's where true flourishing can take place. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of our God. Friends, welcome home isn't just a greeting for those who are new. It is a greeting for you as church family. May we experience being planted in this community through the highs and the lows, the easy seasons and the hard, the clear and confusing moments. May we experience church as family. Welcome home is just as much a greeting for those who have been around this place for decades as much as it is as those who are walking in for the very first time. You belong. So may Hope Chapel be a sanctuary, a home, a family, knowing that when we remain planted, our greatest seasons of fruitfulness are yet to come.